Welcome to watching this video. Our focus is on a theme that lies at the heart of every truly successful and enduring business. From values to growth, ethics and governance for sustainable business success. The video will be focused on the outline. Practical meaning of workplace ethics. What is corporate governance? Governance as a framework for accountability. Role of the workforce in living out ethics. Role of management in sustaining ethical principles. Top management and ethical culture for growth. The world's most ethical companies. Conclusion and call to action. In today's world of fast-changing markets and rising stakeholder expectations, ethics and governance matter more than ever. Companies no longer thrive by profit alone. They succeed when they operate with integrity, transparency, and responsibility. The organizations that last are those that earn trust from their employees, their customers, their investors, and their communities. At the center of it all are values. When values guide decisions, they create strong governance structures, and those structures in turn unlock long-term growth and resilience. In other words, values are the seed, and sustainable business success is the harvest. Over the next few minutes, we will explore 4 key areas. First, what workplace ethics mean in practice. Second, how corporate governance provides the framework for accountability. Third, the critical role of the workforce in living out these principles day to day. And fourth, the responsibility of top management in setting the tone and steering the organization. Together, these elements form a roadmap for businesses that don't just grow fast, but grow well and grow for the long term. Let us look at the practical meaning of workplace ethics. Workplace ethics refers to the set of moral principles, standards, and values that guide behavior and decision-making in a professional environment. In practice, it means 1. Integrity in action, being honest in communication, reporting, and decision-making, even when no one is watching. Example: submitting accurate reports instead of manipulating figures to look good. 2. Fairness and respect, treating colleagues, clients, and stakeholders with dignity and without bias. Example: giving equal opportunities in promotions rather than favoring personal friends. 3. Accountability, taking responsibility for one's actions and their outcomes. Example: owning up to mistakes on a project instead of shifting blame. 4. Transparency, being open about policies, decisions, and processes so trust can be built. Example: explaining why certain changes are made instead of keeping employees in the dark. 5. Compliance with rules and standards, following both company policies and broader legal or professional codes. Example: adhering to safety protocols, anti-harassment policies, and data protection laws. 6. Commitment to the greater good, making decisions that consider the long-term impact on employees, customers, society, and the environment. Example: choosing sustainable suppliers, even if it means lower short-term profit. The consequences of ignoring ethics in the workplace could be seen in the folding up of the Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers, founded in 1850, grew into a Wall Street giant. By the 2000s, it dominated the mortgage market and investment banking world. But behind the success was a toxic workplace culture that prized profit over ethics. Employees pushed risky subprime mortgages onto unqualified borrowers and repackaged them as safe investments. Executives used deceptive accounting to hide debt, while bonuses rewarded aggressive deal-making instead of responsible practices. In September 2008, Lehman filed for bankruptcy with over $600 billion in assets, the largest in U.S. history. Its collapse triggered the global financial crisis, costing millions of people their jobs, homes, and savings. The scandal led to reforms like the Dodd-Frank Act, 2010, to restore transparency and accountability. It is also important to view what makes up corporate governance. Corporate governance is the system of rules, practices, and processes by which a company is directed and controlled. It defines who makes decisions, how those decisions are made, and who is held accountable for them. In simpler terms, it's the framework that ensures a company is run responsibly, fairly, and transparently in the interest of all stakeholders, shareholders, employees, customers, regulators, and society at large. Also, corporate governance is like the constitution of a company. It sets the rules of the game, clarifies responsibilities, and creates mechanisms for accountability, transparency, and control. This ensures leaders cannot act solely in their own interest, but must serve the company and its stakeholders responsibly. How does corporate governance provide the framework for accountability? The case study of a company's collapse for a lack of accountability is Enron's. Enron, once the seventh largest U.S. company, rose rapidly in the 1990s as an energy trading powerhouse valued at over $70 billion. Behind the success, however, lay a culture of deception. Executives used mark-to-market accounting to inflate profits and hid billions in debt through off-balance sheet entities. The board failed in oversight, while auditors at Arthur Andersen looked the other way. By late 2001, the truth emerged. Enron stock crashed from $90 to under $1, wiping out investors, pensions, and more than 20,000 jobs. Arthur Andersen, one of the world's top auditors, collapsed alongside it. The scandal exposed how the lack of accountability destroys trust. Its legacy was the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, 2002, a landmark reform enforcing corporate transparency and stronger governance. The 5 points explained below show how corporate governance provides the framework for accountability. 1. Clear roles and responsibilities. Corporate governance outlines the duties of the board of directors, top management, and committees. Everyone knows what they are responsible for, so accountability is built into the structure. 2. Checks and balances. No single individual has absolute power. Independent directors, audit committees, and external auditors act as watchdogs to prevent abuse of authority. 3. Transparency in decision-making. Governance requires disclosure of financial statements, risks, policies, and strategies. This transparency makes it easier for investors, employees, and regulators to hold leaders accountable. 4. Performance monitoring. Corporate governance establishes systems to track performance against ethical, financial, and strategic goals. Boards can hold executives accountable for results, not just profit, but also compliance and sustainability. 5. Ethical and legal compliance. Governance frameworks ensure companies comply with laws, codes of conduct, and ethical standards. When misconduct occurs, governance structures provide mechanisms for investigation and corrective action. It is essential to look at critical roles of the workforce in living out ethical principles. One of the richest men in Africa, Aliko Dangote, in an interview with Bloomberg, once said that in his country, the oil industry mafia is stronger than a drug cartel. This simply shows what contributed to a long period of system failure, value neglect, and poor governance. The critical roles for the workforce in living out ethical principles include: 1. Upholding honesty and integrity. Employees must give accurate information, report truthfully, and avoid shortcuts or deception. Example: submitting real performance data rather than inflating results to impress superiors. 2. Respecting colleagues and stakeholders. Everyday interactions should reflect fairness, inclusivity, and dignity. Example: avoiding discrimination, gossip, or harassment in the workplace. 3. Accountability for actions. Taking responsibility when errors occur instead of hiding or shifting blame. Example: owning up to a mistake in production and working to fix it. 4. Compliance with policies and laws. Following workplace codes of conduct, health and safety rules, and industry regulations. Example: using protective gear correctly, or respecting data privacy rules in handling client information. 5. Speaking up against wrongdoing, whistleblowing. Employees play a frontline role in reporting unethical practices like fraud, discrimination, or safety violations. Example: alerting HR or compliance officers when misconduct is noticed. 6. Practicing fairness in daily work. Treating clients, vendors, and colleagues equitably, without favoritism or exploitation. Example: giving equal service quality to all customers, not just VIPs. 7. Protecting company resources. Using time, information, finances, and property responsibly. Example: not misusing office funds or company equipment for personal gain. 8. Promoting a culture of trust and teamwork. Modeling ethical behavior so others are encouraged to follow. Example: supporting a team member fairly during evaluations instead of undermining them. Does management have roles in sustaining ethical principles? The American Family Life Insurance Company, Aflac, is rated among the world's most ethical companies by Ethisphere. In 2024, the company recorded a return on investment of 18.14%. Its products are household names and are still growing sustainably to this day, just as other companies ranked for their achievement of turning ethical principles into the company's culture. Management's roles in sustaining ethical principles are as follows. 1. Setting the ethical tone from the top. Management establishes the culture by modeling integrity, fairness, and transparency. Employees watch leaders. When leaders act ethically, it cascades down the organization. 2. Establishing clear policies and codes of conduct. Management must create and communicate ethical guidelines, anti-corruption policies, and compliance standards. These documents give employees a reference point for decision-making. 3. Embedding ethics into strategy and operations. Ethical principles should be integrated into business strategy, performance goals, and operational decisions, not treated as an afterthought. Example: ensuring sustainability goals are part of growth plans. 4. Providing training and awareness. Regular ethics training equips employees with practical skills for handling dilemmas. This reinforces expectations and empowers staff to act responsibly. 5. Building accountability structures. Management must implement internal controls, audits, and compliance systems. This ensures decisions are checked, and misconduct can be detected early. 6. Encouraging open communication and whistleblowing. Safe channels for reporting unethical behavior must be available without fear of retaliation. Protecting whistleblowers signals seriousness about integrity. 7. Rewarding ethical behavior, not just financial success. Performance evaluations should recognize integrity and compliance, not only profit. This discourages a culture of win at all costs. 8. Taking corrective and disciplinary action. When misconduct occurs, management must respond firmly and fairly. Consistent enforcement shows that ethics are non-negotiable. What are the responsibilities of top management in setting the tone of ethical culture and adoptable corporate governance to achieve sustainable growth? Top management's responsibility is to set the tone at the top, leading by example, embedding values into governance structures, and aligning business growth with ethics and sustainability. By doing this, they transform ethics from a policy into a culture, and governance from a structure into a living system that drives trust and long-term success. At the heart of every sustainable business is leadership that sets the right tone from the very top. Top management carries the responsibility of shaping the ethical culture and governance framework that guide an organization's growth. This begins with leadership by example. When executives demonstrate integrity, fairness, and transparency in their own decisions, they set a standard for the entire workforce to follow. They must also define and clearly communicate the organization's values, ensuring these principles are woven into the vision, mission, and everyday practices of the company. Strong corporate governance structures are another responsibility. By establishing effective boards, committees, and oversight systems, leaders create a framework where accountability and fairness can thrive. But governance cannot exist in isolation. It must be tied to the bigger picture of sustainable growth. This means aligning business strategies with long-term responsibility, balancing profit with care for people and the planet. Top management also provides the resources for ethics to flourish, funding training, compliance programs, and open communication channels. They reward integrity, not just financial performance, and they respond decisively when misconduct arises. In short, leadership's role is to turn ethics into culture and governance into a living system. By doing so, they build trust, strengthen resilience, and ensure that growth is not only profitable but also sustainable for the future. The world's most ethical companies. In a world where corporate scandals often dominate headlines, some companies consistently prove that ethics and profit can go hand in hand. Every year, Ethisphere Institute names the world's most ethical companies, honoring firms that excel in integrity, governance, sustainability, and social impact. Why does this matter? Ethical businesses are trusted more by consumers, attract better talent, and often outperform in the long run. Their focus isn't just on quarterly profits but on long-term value for society. Among the 2024 honorees were familiar names across industries. Accenture, consulting/IT, celebrated for 18 consecutive years, with a strong push on inclusive innovation and climate action. Aflac Incorporated, insurance, the only insurer on the list every year since 2007, recognized for transparency, community giving, and workplace culture. Ecolab, water and hygiene, driving global water sustainability, showing how business can align with planetary health. PepsiCo, food and beverage, emphasized healthier product lines, sustainable packaging, and reduced emissions. Starbucks, retail, noted for fair trade sourcing, employee benefits, and environmental stewardship. Also, two companies, Fairphone, sustainable smartphones, and Patagonia, outdoor gear, emerged for their ethical innovations. The big takeaway is that ethical companies aren't just doing good, they're proving that responsible business is smart business. From protecting workers' rights to fighting climate change, these firms show that corporate ethics can shape a more sustainable global economy. In conclusion, as we have seen, workplace ethics and corporate governance are not optional extras. They are the foundation of lasting business success. When employees live out honesty, respect, and accountability, they create a culture of trust. When leaders set the tone at the top, build strong governance structures, and align strategies with core values, they give that culture the strength to endure. The result is more than short-term profit. It is sustainable growth, growth that balances financial performance with responsibility to people, communities, and the planet. The journey is clear, from values to governance, from governance to trust, and from trust to sustainable business success. To achieve this, many organizations turn to expert support. The consultancy firm Ideal Geochim and Environmental Services, IGES, Limited, is notable for conducting audits and establishing workplace ethics and sustainable corporate governance structures. Companies' top management should consider partnering with trusted consultants like IGES to build systems that make growth resilient and investment truly rewarding. Let's all play our part, as workforce and as leaders, in building organizations that do not just grow, but grow well, and grow for the long term. Thank you for watching. If you found value in this presentation, subscribe and stay tuned for more insights on business, leadership, and sustainable growth.